A species of creatures emerging from the earth has decimated human civilization. Strangely, these monsters never set foot in areas above 8,000 feet in altitude, as if this place were under a forbidden curse. Will and his son have struggled to survive in the Rocky Mountains for 3 years. By now, humanity has gradually regressed to a primitive state of existence. Nina, a scientist, spends day and night researching various bullet formulas, but she has been unable to penetrate the monster's outer skins. One day, the peace is broken. Will's son's chronic illness suddenly worsens. The remaining medical supplies on the mountain are no longer sufficient to sustain his life. Will conceives a bold plan. He finds Nina and hopes she will join him on a trip to the hospital halfway up the mountain. It turns out that Nina once owed Will a life debt. Will is not acting recklessly. He knows of an abandoned mine tunnel that can lead directly to the vicinity of the hospital via the underground. Early the next morning, Will entrusts his child to a neighbor, then heads to the ammunition depot. Unexpectedly, his close friend Katie insists on joining when she learns of his plan. Will has to agree. The 2 women and 1 man make their way down the mountain along the cliffside. Not far away, they can see the ruins of a battle between the military and the monsters. Will worries that the cave might hide monsters. Nina explains that the monsters have a strong biomagnetic field in their bodies. The compass she is carrying is not deflecting at the moment, indicating that the vicinity is safe. Soon, the group crosses the 8,000-foot altitude line, officially entering the monster's active zone. While searching for supplies in the battlefield ruins, Will finds a grenade launcher and hands it to Katie. Nina discovers a sample of monster skin. After organizing their equipment, the 3 set off again. In the 3 years since humans disappeared, the forest has been taken over by wild animals. When they reach the starting point of the cable car, Nina's compass suddenly spins rapidly. On the plane, humans are far slower than the monsters. The 3 decide to split up. Will rushes to the cable car control station to start the equipment, while the other 2 stay behind to block the monsters. Just as the monsters enter the range, the red light on their bodies suddenly disappears into the forest. As the monsters charge at full speed, Will finally gets the power connected. Nina boards the cable car first, and Will follows closely behind. Katie, being farther away, can only climb the cable. The 2 on the cable car continue to shoot, but they cannot stop the monsters. In a moment of desperation, Katie leaps toward the cable car and is grabbed by Will. The next second, a monster's claw hooks the cable. The overburdened cable snaps, and the 3 fall. Fortunately, they land right at the 8,000-foot altitude line. After entering the abandoned mine tunnel, Nina warns that although the current altitude is above 8,000 feet, there must be lower areas deep in the tunnel. During their journey, Will despairingly finds that the passage to the hospital is locked. He suddenly remembers another route, which requires descending to the 7,000-foot altitude area. The 3 climb down through the pipes. As they accelerate through the dangerous area, Katie senses something moving behind them. The trio turns off their headlamps and holds their breath, hiding. A red glowing tentacle probes into the stone crevice, searching. Will improvises, igniting cold fireworks to release a large amount of carbon dioxide to attract the monster. While it is distracted, the 3 squeeze out through a narrow opening on the other side. However, the monster seems to see through the ruse and disappears in an instant. As Katie exits the opening, she suddenly hears a growl. The monster launches a surprise attack and drags her away. Will and Nina force themselves to bear the grief and climb upward desperately along the ladder, finally escaping from the mine. At an abandoned farm, Will is surprised to find a car that can start, and there is also food stored in the house. After a meal, Will asks, "What was your research in the lab during the early days of the apocalypse? Why did the military value you so much? Why did my wife sacrifice herself while rescuing you?" Nina confesses that they discovered the monster's skin can react chemically with cobalt, but when the research was close to a breakthrough, the lab was breached by monsters. The next day, Will drives a pickup truck toward the town. Using the sound of horse hooves as cover, the 2 sneak into the hospital. The pharmacy is in chaos, and Will quickly searches for medicine. At this moment, Nina's compass spins wildly. The monsters are approaching. The 2 grab the medicine and rush toward the exit. Countless tentacles break through the walls, and Will is tightly wrapped. In a critical moment, Nina grabs a fire axe and hacks at the tentacles. At the sound of metal clashing, the monster releases its grip. In their panic, the 2 retreat to the rooftop, cornered. Will catches sight of an oxygen tank nearby. Looking at the motionless monster on the ground, Nina reignites her hope. These monsters are not invincible. She begs Will to escort her to the lab. Years of research have given her an idea to kill the monsters, but she lacks equipment to verify it. To reclaim their homeland, Will immediately drives toward the lab. Upon arrival, Will keeps watch while Nina mixes cobalt reagent and applies it to the bullets. However, after a test shot, the monster's skin remains intact. Will urges her to evacuate, but Nina insists on one last try. She tells Will to go first, saying her car is parked nearby and she will leave if the experiment fails. Will no longer tries to stop her. Nina repeatedly adjusts the reagent ratio, but the bullets still cannot penetrate the skin. In a moment of desperation, she looks at the power battery and has a flash of inspiration. After remixing the reagent, she applies it to new bullets. Meanwhile, on his way back, Will suddenly encounters a flat tire. The vehicle rolls over and stalls. When he wakes up, he kicks out the windshield, only to attract monsters. He tries his best to run toward the mountain, with the monsters in hot pursuit. Just as he reaches the 8,000-foot altitude line, monsters surround him from all sides. In a state of despair, with no bullets left and no food, Nina arrives with the successfully improved bullets. Looking at the scattered parts and the monster remains, the two are shocked. The so-called monsters are robots. No wonder they need no food or sleep, and are programmed not to cross 8,000 feet. But who created them? Full of questions, the two first return to the village and raise a pirate flag as a symbol of counterattack. The flag spreads like a beacon to each survivor's stronghold. With a way to defeat the robot monsters, people work through the night to make special bullets. A joint counterattack for humanity to reclaim their home is about to begin.